one, but what can I do? Two, what can we do on the grassroots level in terms of ensuring human security worldwide? Three, how can we do it nonviolently? And that is related to four. How can we do it when either we have government structures that really do more to block than to promote? And the fifth one is, how can we get our military strategists to really look and take serious non-violent solutions that actually might answer our security needs better? So these are a group of people who are ready to go. Some of us are a little bit over the age limit, but I can tell you that we have some young people out there who are ready to go. Can you answer that back to them?
Do you want answers to that?
Yeah,
no problem.
No problem.
Let's start with the last one, and some of the ways that we can have the military think about sort of these ideas. Well, one of them is to encourage the idea of conflict prevention. I mean, when we get into interagency meetings, rather than thinking about how do we prosecute the crisis du jour, we need to be thinking about what are the foreign policy objectives that we have to try to project, and how do we work with others and mobilize the international community, mobilize local actors to try to prevent conflict from spreading, breaking out in the first place. How do we then use our development tools to help stabilize and build institutions? So that's the first thing we don't do enough of, because we do too much crisis management, not enough long-term planning. We can't do it on our own at all. So we have to let go. We have to work and cooperate with others. We're starting to see a lot of that kind of flavor from the Obama administration, but it's very tough to make that actually happen. In conflicts themselves, as we see, we can choose to ignore Afghanistan, but Afghanistan is an ongoing war. But when General McChrystal goes in and writes his 12 rules so that every soldier has to say, I can't just go and indiscriminately use force. In fact, my whole idea is not to use force. In fact, the best thing I may do is not to respond to even an attack. That's a start of understanding that what is the political purpose? It was Mao who actually said that you can never divorce for even an instant war from a political purpose. And it was Karl von Clausewitz who talked about this admixture of war is nothing but politics by other means. That is, there has to be a political objective here. And the objective is actually to peace and prosperity. It is to try to protect human security. So if you can inculcate that within your military leader, someone like David Petraeus, I think, actually gets this, but he's then given a mission that he has to prosecute. So he's not given autonomy. He has to work in very tight boundaries. But he understands the concept in general that we're here to protect people, so we can start to do that. Let's take the first question. How do we start to do something about that? If you're not at the National Security Council, you're not working for General Petraeus' brain trust, how do you start to do that? Well, there are a million ways. It's called civil society on the outside. And civil society has advanced in all sorts of ways. Read the work of Peter Ackerman on civil resistance, which has led to a lot of the peaceful resistance. It builds on Gandhi. It builds on the color revolutions post-Soviet Union. It builds on a lot of other experience, including even the civil rights movement here in the United States. You can work for non-governmental organizations, and you can decide which ones, through the internet, are doing a better job than others and more effectively trying to pursue these objectives. And a lot of small NGOs can do good, but unfortunately they can also do harm. You can end up in a poor government. I mean, I remember Liberia. I mean, the religious NGOs and the secular NGOs were in abundance. I was in well, I won't mention the denomination, but the point, I was in a religious institution. And I was told, literally they couldn't trust the staff with $1, from one end of the hall of this church to the other end of the hall. So, I mean, corruption was part of the way of survival in the early stages of sort of rebuilding Liberia. They've actually done amazing things in a short period of time. It's been much better. Can we sustain that kind of work on the ground. Well, that's going to take civil society because governments don't have the attention span and don't have the resources to keep focused on it. And so there are lots of ways to involve yourself that actually make a big difference in human security. And you don't even have to go abroad. You can go right here in Washington, D.C. and make a difference on human security.